I'm at Crawford Lake, and if you'll recall, I did just recently a video about how I get inspiration and how I make decisions out on a photo shoot. So today I want to talk about one image that I'm trying to capture of a boardwalk that goes and winds all the way around the lake. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to show you me capturing the image and then editing the image. The image that I have here that you can see is the boardwalk is winding around, and even though the boardwalk is kind of going out to the right, it's winding back into the left, and so it's acting like a beautiful leading line. So I'm at f16 because I want to get a very large depth of field, ISO 100 and 1/3 of a second. I'm also waiting patiently to see if the sun will go behind a cloud so that I can get the scene without the blown out highlights. Okay, I'm back, and I've edited my image in Photoshop. First I'm going to show you the final result, and then I'm going to show you the steps that I took to get there. So I opened the raw file, gave it a quick straighten and crop, and brought it into Photoshop. That's what you see here. The raw file is kind of dull, it doesn't have a lot of pop, and the first thing that I'm going to do is duplicate my layer. Now I'd like to make some adjustments first in Adobe Camera Raw. So I'm going to go into my filters and click on Camera Raw Filter. So the first thing that I notice is that this image is not quite have the right contrast that I'm looking for. But instead of upping the contrast, I'm going to do it with my blacks and whites. So I'm actually first going to bring my contrast down. Probably not too much, maybe around -20. And then I want to bring my highlights down because even though I caught this image when a cloud was going over, and so it's not quite as bright as when the sun was shining, it's still got some lighter areas, and I'd like to just kind of smooth things out a bit. So I'm bringing my highlights down quite a bit, -57. And because of that, now the whites are quite dull. So I'm going to bring the whites back up, and I'm just going to keep going, not that high, maybe 35. And the image is looking quite washed out, and I said I'd like to increase the contrast, so blacks are going to be brought down to about there, -33. So I like the color in this image, and I'm going to work with the color separately on the other tab. However, I'm going to bring the vibrance up just a little bit and the saturation as well. So +5 and +10. So okay, that's a good place to start. Now I did talk about color, and I'm going to go and move over to the color tab. And something that I really like in this image are the reds and oranges. So I'm going to bring those up. So I really want to bring it up so that it's noticeable, but I don't want it to look fake. So I'm going to bring the reds up quite a bit higher because they're quite a bit muted at the moment. And the oranges not quite so high, maybe 18. Now the yellows you can find mostly in the trees. The trees are often not just green but yellow as well. And I'm just going to bring it up just a hair, +8. Now I like the blues along the edge of the boardwalk, but I think they're going to be a little bit too blue. It doesn't quite look natural. So I'm going to go over to, I'm going to bring the saturation down first. And then I'm going to go over to the luminance tab, and I'm going to make them a little bit darker. So I think that looks about good like that. Now to make this image turn out the way that I picture, I'm going to have to do a little bit of spot adjustment. So what I want is I want the boardwalk to really pop and the rest of the background to be a little bit darker and kind of moody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an adjustment brush on each area. The adjustment brush on the boardwalk, I'm going to bring the clarity and some of the brightness up, and then make an adjustment to the background to mute it down. So I'm going to go over to my adjustment brush, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to make sure that all of my adjustments on the right are set to 0, which they are, and then I'm going to bring clarity up really high, 100, so that I can tell where I'm painting. So you can see as I paint over the boardwalk that a lot of the detail now is coming out, which is really, really cool. That's what I want. And I'm going to add a stroke to these top railings. And try not to go outside the lines. Okay. So there. I'm going to bring the clarity back down a little bit though, because that's a bit more than I wanted. I think about 50 is good. And then I would like to do a bit more contrast, maybe up to 20. Highlights, I want to bring those up as well. So you can see just that middle part of the bridge is really starting to pop. I'm even going to bring those whites up a little bit too. And then just to bring the darks down a bit, I'm going to bring up that dehaze to +8. And to bring out the color, so on the bridge there's really not a whole lot of color, I mean on the boardwalk, so I'm going to bring that up quite a bit. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my main image here, and I'm still on my color tab, and I think that those blues are still a little bit too blue. So I'm just going to bring it down even more. Now I'm going to do another adjustment brush. So I've already dealt with the bridge. Now I want to deal with the background. So I'm going to make my adjustment brush pretty wide. And I'm also going to make sure again that my adjustments are back to 0, which they are now. And I'm going to bring that clarity down to -100 so I can see where I'm painting. And I'm painting over the background that has the trees and the surrounding forest area. Obviously -100 is way too much, so bring that clarity back up. I just want it to be a little bit soft focus. So maybe -26, we'll see. And then I'm even going to bring the exposure down just a bit. I like the contrast to be down a bit as well. And I'm thinking the clarity is too much, so I'm going back up to -15. Now I still need to add a spot because the adjustment brush has been added out here, but not in between the railings. So I have to add that so that it's not uneven. There. It's not bad. So I'm thinking actually I might bring the blacks down a little bit just to bring some of that contrast back in. There, that's looking much better. Now I'm going to go back out again, and I'm going to go to Effects. So in the Effects tab, I have the post-crop vignetting, and I'd like to add a little bit of a vignette here. So I think that just really helps the boardwalk really to pop out in contrast to the surrounding area. So I play a little bit with the midpoint and roundness. And feather. There, I think that looks good. So that is in Camera Raw, and I'm going to click OK. And the Camera Raw filter is applied. So you can see here when I turn off that layer, what it looked like before and what it looks like now with my Camera Raw changes. So I really like that. In fact, I may not make any other changes. I'm going to try a brightness contrast layer, and I'm going to add a little bit of brightness and contrast, and I don't want it applied to the whole image. I'm actually just going to apply it to this bridge as well, just right at the front. What that does is it really emphasizes the angle and draws the eyes in to the image and the boardwalk there. Good. So that's it. Final image. That's it. I want to say thank you to everyone who gave me such wonderful comments and encouragements on my last video about reaching 1,000 subscribers. I really, really appreciate them so much. Thanks for coming along today. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.